Hey Clay County, hey Florida. It's been a couple of days since my last video. I'm going to continue with the idea that I started in my last video about addressing the age of the universe and showing that if there's not enough time, then there's no evolution. And in the last video that I did, we talked about blue stars and nebula and how that shows that there isn't just simply isn't enough time. But I'm going to continue to talk about that through a different avenue, and I'm going to talk a lot about the Big Bang. Now, the Big Bang is presented in our classrooms as if it's a fact. That doesn't matter whether you're talking biology or probably to a lesser extent chemistry, and definitely in a lot of physics classes, not mine included. Obviously, I wouldn't teach something I don't believe to be true, but in a lot of our physics classes, the Big Bang idea has taken root. Is presented as a foregone conclusion, and then everything else follows along after that. And I'm going to do several videos. I'm not going to make this one long. I'm not going to make any of them particularly long because there is going to be some technical stuff in them, and I don't want to get lost in the wash of details here. But you're certainly welcome to converse with me about any of those. But I do want to take it in several pieces and examine each piece as a separate video. And the one I want to talk about today is the very idea of the beginning. There was a man named Sir Fred Hoyle who passed away early in the 21st century, and he was by no means on our side in terms of talking about the age of the Earth and evolution. He definitely believed that the universe was old. In fact, he believed that the universe was eternal. He believed in something called the steady state theory that said that the universe had always been here. And there's that word theory again. He called it a theory, but it's no longer around. Nobody believes in it anymore, except for maybe like one or two, which that alone doesn't discredit or credit it. It's just the idea is that none of those who hold to an ancient universe hold to one that's been here for eternity. But he was antagonistic towards the Big Bang. And one of the things that he said was, be suspicious of a theory if more and more hypotheses are needed to support it as new facts become available or as new considerations are brought to bear. Now, ironically, his own steady state theory was subject to that. As more and more data was collected, it was shown more and more that his own theory or hypothesis, I guess is the more correct term, was untenable. It just doesn't work. But what I want to talk about today is the comparison between cosmological evolution and biological evolution. There's a lot of parallels that can be established between them, and one of those is akin to abiogenesis, the idea that life came from that which was not alive. There is an inherent idea that is fundamentally logical, that if you don't have something and you have no means to obtain it from some kind of outside source, then you will never have that something. So if I don't have life, there is no means for me to obtain life if I can't get it from an outside source. Life will never spontaneously start by itself. Been demonstrated for countless generations. This is the thing that we have observed. This is the thing that Louis Pasteur and others of his time showed, giving us the law of biogenesis. One of the most demonstrated laws in the universe is the idea that life comes only from life. But in a similar way, the law of conservation of matter and energy states that you can't put new energy, new matter, really new anything into the universe. You literally can't start with nothing and then somehow get something. Now, when we talk about the Big Bang and we talk about all of the various details that go into trying to prop up this idea that the universe started as a little tiny dot smaller than the period on the end of a sentence, there's a lot of details, and we're going to examine those as we go along. But the very one that they still will never overcome, no matter how much they try, and believe me, they've come up with a lot of them, is the idea that where did the universe come from? In whatever form it was in the beginning, if it was a tiny dot, a singularity, a period at the end of a sentence, whatever you want to call it, the proto-atom of everything, the singularity, where did that come from? And they don't have an answer, because not because science hasn't discovered it yet, but because it's illogical for science to discover it. And that's a very important thing to understand. I talked about the scientific method in one of my earliest videos, about there's being 3 tests for a hypothesis. There's the logic test, there's the direct method, which is what we think of the lab coats and test tubes and stuff, and then there's the indirect method, which is a combination of the two. We take what we can directly measure and then draw logical conclusions from that about things that we cannot. And as far as the universe goes, it doesn't even pass the logic test to say that before the universe there was nothing and then there was something. That's not scientific. There is no scientific basis for that whatsoever. There's no logical basis for that whatsoever. And so before they even get started, they will never be able to answer where the universe came from before the universe was here. Just like they will never be able to answer the question, where did life come from before there was life? Because their approach is inherently flawed. They are stuck on naturalistic causes only, and unfortunately, naturalistic causes are insufficient to explain the totality of the isolated system, meaning no energy or matter can enter. In this case, no space or time can enter. Nothing of the properties of the universe can enter the isolated system that is the universe. And so it's a logically contradictory idea right off the start. They start off already failing. We can go on, and we're going to talk about a number of different things over the next few videos dealing with the Big Bang and showing. And I'm not going to get into big, long explanations. I'm going to give you a brief explanation of what they assert and then why it's been shown to be flawed. But each one of these is going to accumulate as nails in the coffin of Big Bang. And the actual Big Bang hypothesis has been declared dead several times. 2014, 2001, going back all the way back to the 1970s, not long after it was actually brought out. You've had various people all over the world at various different times declaring it dead. And we're going to examine some of those. And what we're going to show is not only is the current model to explain billions of years that evolution has to exist within, well, we're going to actually use that to show that there is no way, there is no model that anyone can ever come up with to show billions of years. And if we don't have billions of years, there's no evolution. No matter whatever else they can come up with and whatever experiments they can bring us and show us, all they're going to give us is little micro things, and they will never be able to extrapolate it out into the idea that rocks turned into man in the form of big evolution if they just don't have enough time. Thank you for watching. I hope you will correspond with us either on Facebook or here in the comments, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say.